The difference between real and virtual realities lies only in the number of individual perceptions that support these depictions of the world. Tradition views the universe as an infinite field of potentials, a field of probabilities that only actualize through and to the extent of contact with consciousness. Thus, the overlay of an absolutely homogeneous, unified but potential medium, and an absolutely differentiated but formless and non-existent consciousness gives rise to the whole set of actual reality. Let's try to understand this representation. We have already discussed that the Great Spirit, the Absolute, exists beyond being and non-being, which is why it is called Ein Sof, the Unknowable, and manifests itself as absolute completeness/emptiness Hoshak. Hoshak is the ultimate point, somewhat accessible to comprehension, even if it is beyond dualistic categories. This primary darkness manifests itself as emptiness, bohu, and light, or emptiness is perceived as an infinite field of potentials, the world environment, and light as a striving for their realization, the element of consciousness. The effect of light on emptiness gives birth to a set of vessels, kelim, potentials ready for actualization within this emptiness. Further entry of light into the vessels is considered a world process, ultimately striving for full contact between light and bohu, and their merger in completeness pleroma, martikun, which in this sense is still Hoshak. At the same time, it is clear that this entire process takes place only from a relative, limited point of view, since the Absolute can be equally considered as never having left the state of unity and unmanifestedness, as fully actualizing itself, or as being in the process of actualization, since each of these states is just one of its possibilities for the Great Spirit. Accordingly, it is equally successful to speak of worlds and beings as an illusion that never existed, as pleroma, emptiness, and as a process of becoming. At the same time, since the very description implies the presence of the one who describes it, for each such relative consciousness, despite its conditionality, which is inside the description and is part of it, the world appears as an extension, a process of becoming and development. In other words, understanding unity and seeing non-duality, the magician operates with categories of multiplicity and duality, not because he considers them real, but because he acts within them. From the perspective of relative consciousness, the world appears as a combination of energies, potentials of the environment, filled with consciousness that actualizes them. Different energies and their blocks interact with each other, and the laws of these interactions are described in the most general sense as logos, or more commonly as eidos, me. In other words, any individual consciousness, that is, any individual stream of light, grabs from the universal completeness of the unmanifested, God, the environment, certain probabilities, certain potentials, just as a flashlight's light grabs objects in a dark room, bringing them to life. It is this illuminated part of the environment that constitutes the reality in which consciousness operates. Thus, it can be said that consciousness itself creates its reality, including the form of its own manifestation. It is clear that each individual manifestation of consciousness can contact other manifestations, other streams of light to the extent that these streams illuminate the same energies. Thus, although everything is light and everything is darkness, although the world is one and indivisible, empty and full, it is perceived as differentiated, with different density of emptiness and fullness, and this differentiation is also created in it by focused streams of consciousness on different energies. In addition, depending on the quantity and stability of consciousness streams that permeate a given set of energies, illuminating a particular area of darkness, the resulting picture can be more or less stable, more or less real or virtual. We have already mentioned that magic calls worlds those stable pictures sustained by a large number of consciousness streams operating within them, while the entire set of unstable, variable, and unstable pictures is called the interworld. It is clear that both sets, the set of real and virtual spaces, are formally infinite and are overlaid on top of each other, so that there are no gaps between them, and any energy, potentiality, or probability is realized by one consciousness stream or another. The above has important practical implications for magic. Firstly, magicians understand that we can only interact with those beings with whom we share a way of describing the world, and therefore by expanding our description, we expand the circle of possible interactions. This regularity works in both directions. We can add interactions by expanding our description of the world, or we can expand our description of the world by entering into new interactions. This is the key to ceremonial magic. Secondly, magicians see that the world is the result of the interaction of environment and consciousness, and therefore consciousness can evoke any manifestations and probabilities from the environment. This is the key to nominative magic. Thirdly, magicians realize that the contact of objects is identical to the contact of consciousnesses. This is the key to contagious magic. Fourthly, magicians know that all worlds are right in front of them, that they don't need to go anywhere, they just need to enter them. And this is the key to portal magic. Perceiving the world as a source and product of consciousness, magic opens up possibilities for revolutionary ways of developing consciousness, for its expansion beyond limitations and conditioning, and for identification with absolute consciousness.